Secrets of the Vatican. The year is 64 AD. Rome is burning. Not metaphorically, the city is actually on fire. 7 of 14 districts consumed, the flames visible from surrounding hills for 3 days, the smoke hanging over the Tiber for a week after the last ember dies. Emperor Nero needs someone to blame. He finds them in a small, disorganized community of people who believe a Jewish carpenter executed 30 years ago rose from the dead. The persecution begins immediately. Christians are arrested, tortured, killed in ways designed to entertain a population that has learned to confuse spectacle with justice. Among those executed, an aging fisherman from Galilee named Simon. His community calls him Peter. His executed teacher called him the Rock. Peter is crucified upside down at his own request. He does not consider himself worthy of dying in the same position as his teacher. He is buried on Vatican Hill, a place Romans consider unlucky, slightly cursed, the kind of ground you use for burials rather than buildings. Nobody builds on it. For now. 3 centuries pass. The Christians keep dying. They keep multiplying. The two facts appear contradictory until you understand that persecution selects for the most committed. And the most committed are exactly the people most effective at spreading an idea. By 300 AD, the Roman Empire contains somewhere between 5 and 10 million Christians. Emperor Constantine understands mathematics. In 312 AD, the night before the Battle of Milvian Bridge, Constantine sees something in the sky. What exactly? Historians have argued for 17 centuries. He says it is a Christian symbol with the words in this sign, conquer. His enemies say it is a calculated political decision dressed as a vision. Both may be true simultaneously. He wins the battle. He converts. The persecution ends. Constantine builds on Vatican Hill, on the exact spot where cursed ground holds the bones of an old fisherman. The first saint, Peter's Basilica, rises over Peter's tomb in 326 AD. The institution that will become the Vatican has found its ground. The secrets begin accumulating immediately. The documents start from the first day. This is the part nobody thinks about. The paperwork of salvation. Every decision requires justification. Every justification requires precedent. Every precedent requires record. The early church is simultaneously a spiritual movement and a bureaucratic organism, and bureaucratic organisms generate paper the way fires generate smoke, constantly, automatically, as a byproduct of simply existing. Letters from the first bishops. Records of councils where men argued about the nature of God with the intensity of people who believe the argument has eternal consequences. Lists of martyrs. Property records for the first churches hidden in Roman basements. Confessions. Denunciations. The specific administrative record of an institution that believes it is managing humanity's relationship with eternity and takes the paperwork of that responsibility with complete seriousness. These documents go somewhere. They are copied, preserved, moved when Rome is threatened, hidden when enemies approach, recovered when enemies retreat. The archive grows with the institution, slowly at first, then faster, then so fast that by the medieval period it has become the single largest collection of historical records in the Western world. 85 kilometers of shelving. That is the current measurement. An actual distance, not a metaphor, not an approximation. If you placed every document end to end, you would walk for most of a day before reaching the last one. Inside those 85 kilometers, letters between popes and emperors that determined the borders of nations, trial records of people burned for beliefs that the Church itself later quietly adopted. Galileo's complete trial file, his handwritten recantation, still there, the ink of a genius surrendering to an institution that was wrong. A letter from Mary Queen of Scots, written hours before her execution, pleading for her life, addressed to a pope who never responded in time. Correspondence with every monarch in European history. The specific paper trail of 2,000 years of institutional power. 12 scholars per day are permitted access. 12. By appointment. With credentials, with a specific list of documents requested in advance, the reading room contains no original documents. Those are brought to scholars one at a time, handled with cotton gloves, returned to shelving that no outside researcher ever sees. What is in the sections that remain completely closed is a question the Vatican answers with silence. The medieval period is where the secrets become architectural. The Vatican is not simply a collection of buildings, it is a layered city, each century building on top of the previous one, the older structures surviving beneath the newer, a geological record of institutional history readable if you know where to look and are permitted to look. Beneath St. Peter's Basilica, the current one, completed in 1626 after 120 years of construction, lie the ruins of Constantine's original basilica. Beneath those ruins lie the necropolis, a Roman cemetery where wealthy families built elaborate tomb houses for their dead. And at the center of that necropolis, directly beneath the high altar of the largest church in Christendom, exactly where the tradition always said it would be, a tomb. Bones inside it. Studies conducted in the 1960s concluded they were the bones of a robust man, 1st century, consistent with the physical description of Peter. The fisherman from Galilee is still there, 2,000 years, and the largest institution in religious history built directly above him, and he is still exactly where they put him on that unlucky hill in 64 AD. The Renaissance is where the Vatican becomes the Vatican we recognize, and where the secrets become almost too large to keep. Pope Alexander VI, Rodrigo Borgia. Elected in 1492, the same year Columbus reaches the Americas, history compressing its ironies into single calendar years. Alexander VI has 4 acknowledged children before becoming Pope, continues relationships with at least one mistress during his papacy, uses the Church's resources with a creativity that future centuries will struggle to categorize, and is suspected, though never proven, of poisoning cardinals whose deaths were convenient. He is also an extraordinarily effective administrator, a capable diplomat, and a man whose political decisions shape the map of Europe for the next century. The Vatican archives contain his complete correspondence, all of it. The administrative genius and the personal catastrophe occupying the same filing system, the same 85 kilometers of shelving, the same cotton gloves required to touch either. The institution keeps records of its own worst moments with the same meticulous care it keeps records of its best. This is either remarkable honesty or the specific confidence of an organization that believes it will outlast any scandal, and has, so far, been correct. Then there is the room that does not appear on any public map. Every researcher who has worked extensively in the Vatican archives mentions it in different terms: a wing, a section, a collection. The specifics vary because the specifics are not available. What is consistent across accounts is the existence of material that has never been catalogued for outside access, that predates the formal organization of the archive system, that includes documents whose contents the Vatican has declined to describe. What is in there is genuinely unknown. This is not speculation dressed as mystery. It is the actual epistemological situation. The Vatican knows. Outside researchers do not. The wall between those two states of knowledge is stone, institutional, authority, and 2,000 years of practice at keeping things that are meant to be kept. The year is 2013. Pope Benedict XVI resigns. He moves into a monastery inside the walls and stops speaking. The question of what he knows remains open. The archives remain at 85 kilometers and growing. The bones beneath the altar remain exactly where they have always been. The wall around the Vatican is ancient stone, maintained obsessively. Inside it, the largest accumulation of institutional secrets in human history, organized, preserved, partially accessible, partially not. 2,000 years of humanity's most consequential institution, recording everything it did and everything it chose not to say about what it did. The documents are still there. The silence around some of them is also still there. Both have lasted 2,000 years. Both show no signs of ending.